So for those of you who don't know who I am, hi, my name is Weiner, and I've been working with Dave Collins at Software Promotions for 11 years. If you're unfamiliar with Software Promotions, our company helps software developers like yourselves sell more of their software. We offer a variety of services such as SEO, AdWords management, consultations, conversion optimizations, landing page creation, as well as some other related services. I've been managing AdWords accounts for over 7 years, and on average, I spend around, I'd say about 6 to 7 hours per day, specifically focused on AdWords for 5 days a week. It's a very sad state of existence. However, I do truly enjoy AdWords. Now, over the years, I've managed many millions of dollars of AdWords budgets, and I've dealt with a wide range of AdWords accounts. While I predominantly focus specifically on software-related accounts, I have managed other accounts that advertise such services as e-commerce, burlesque shows, direct mail, resorts, real estate, and so on. The burlesque account is actually a really interesting account. I love working with AdWords and talking about it, and it's constantly on my mind. Now, normally Dave speaks at conferences like this one. However, for this time, he thought it was about time I got out from behind my desk and shared my AdWords knowledge. I've never done this sort of thing before, so bear with me. And also, please tell Dave that I spoke way better than he has. So, how's this going to work? Also, during the talk, I'll be drinking plenty, so I don't dry out. During this talk, I'll be discussing a number of AdWords techniques, features, reports that you may or may not be familiar with. But to keep everything simple and clear, I'm going to explain each of the items as follows. What is it? What can you do with it? And what to be careful of. The 3 whats. The idea is to share my years of AdWords experience in a way that you can actually use what I've learned within your own AdWords accounts. But we're not going to waste time with abstracts or academic ideas. This AdWords knowledge that I'm about to share with you should improve your account's performance and lower your AdWords costs. Who wouldn't want that? Now, this is an advanced session, so if you happen to be a new AdWords user or one of the items that I discussed seems complicated, don't worry about it. Just make a note of it and either ask me at the end of the talk or come up to me later during the conference. I'm more than happy to share my AdWords knowledge and explain it in more depth. So starting with the first item, it's the search terms report. What is it? The search term report shows you exactly what people searched for as they clicked on your AdWords ads. You're probably aware that the keyword that you bid on might not actually be the search that someone performs prior to seeing your ad. If you bid on the phrase match photo editing software, now as you can see the red is gone. But if you were to bid on the term photo editing software, your ad might be shown for searches like free photo editing software or photo editing software for Linux. So with the search terms report, you'll be able to see what you bid on, with the terms that you bid on, and the searches that people are actually performing that trigger your ads. So what can you do with this report? The search terms report helps you find new keywords, negative keywords, and gives you insight into how people are actually searching for what you're offering. So you might find that people are searching for keywords in conjunction with other keywords that you may never have thought of. With that information, you could either target those new keywords or you could exclude them. The search terms report also shows you how Google are expanding on your broad match terms, as well as your phrase and your exact match terms. You might bid on one keyword only to learn that Google feel that it's relevant to another unrelated keyword in your view. Now you can access this report at multiple levels throughout your whole account. the campaign report, the campaign level, the ad group level, and even at the keyword level. Now at the keyword level is very interesting because it helps you understand all the clicks that you received on one particular keyword. Now what do you need to be careful of when it comes to this certain report? The report, it needs data. And without that data, if you have no clicks or impressions, you're not going to see anything in that report. I would also recommend that when you analyze this report, you remove the match type column. So when you pull out this report, there's a match type column by default. Just exclude that column because it's just going to complicate all of your efforts. The idea of this report is to understand how your ads are triggered and not per keyword, per match type. You don't need all of that data. You just need it all sort of grouped together. Another thing to keep in mind is that even though Google are now reporting on keywords within the display network, this report, for now, only works with the search network. Personally, I always export this search terms report into Excel. This is so that I can use filters on the data and find the keywords that I want to target, and then I'll filter on those terms and then identify other related terms. Okay, the automatic placements performance report. Okay, so what is this report? The automatic placements report helps identify all the domains as well as the URLs that your AdWords ads have been displayed when targeting the Google Display Network. So what can you do with this report? The automatic placements report is great at identifying good and bad performing websites when targeting the Google Display Network. As you may have already experienced, the Google Display Network sends a large amount of impressions. And in some cases, websites on the Google Display Network may send a large number of clicks, but little or no conversions. With the automatic placements report, you can identify those websites and exclude them at the ad group level or at the campaign level. You can also use the report to identify websites that you want to specifically target through managed placement targeted campaigns. The report shows you stats at the domain level as well as the URL level. Now, what do you need to be careful of? The report does not work for the search network. The data is only based on the Google Display Network. As with the search terms report, you need data, but even more importantly, you need conversion data. If you have little or no conversion data, you will have a difficult time eliminating sites that appear to not perform well. You may think that the name of a domain is off target, or that the site in question looks irrelevant. However, without that conversion data, it will be near impossible to make that determination. I have personally seen situations where a site performs well based on conversion data, even though it appeared to be unrelated to the product's theme. Now, when I analyze this report, I initially focus at the domain level and not at the specific URL level. I look for domains that are sending large numbers of high-cost clicks that produce little or no conversions. If I find any, I review the domains in question and consider them for exclusion. I look at domains, then I'll look at domains that send a large number of clicks as well as conversions. Now, if the cost is high,
You must be assuming that people have the Google Analytics to...
This has nothing to do with Google Analytics. This is a report that is found right within your AdWords account.
But you're talking about canceling the domains that don't generate sales. So
because
knowledge of where the sales are coming from, doesn't that depend on
AdWords
tracking?
conversion tracking? So number one, this whole talk is based on, it's an advanced AdWords talk. So if you have an AdWords account and you don't have conversion tracking, which at some point in this presentation I'm going to discuss conversion tracking.
CPC tracking, he's not talking about your product conversion. He's talking about the CPC conversion, not the product conversion.
I'm going to get to a point in the presentation that's going to discuss all about conversions. But again, bear with me, and if there's anything that is a little bit too complex, just make a note of it and come up to me. I'd be happy to share all my knowledge with you and explain this in more depth, okay? Okay. So right now I've located a whole load of, I've located websites that are sending me a lot of clicks, but they're not producing any conversions. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to exclude those sites. I'm going to look at each one of those sites and determine, do I want to exclude these sites? But then I have a situation where I'm receiving clicks and I'm receiving impressions from these sites, and they're also producing conversions. So it looks good, but they're high cost. So what I'll do is I'll take a much deeper look at those particular clicks coming from the AdWords, the Google Display Network, and I'll look at the URL level for a particular domain. So I find a domain, it's sending me a lot of clicks, it's sending me a lot of conversions. I'll then generate the report, but at the URL level. And then I'll filter all of those URLs, and I'll determine whether or not I can exclude a specific URL that is sending me a number of clicks, but very little conversions. Now, when excluding URLs, Google sometimes won't allow you to exclude a URL that is too deep. Now, what I mean by too deep is subfolder within a subfolder within a subfolder. Now, at last check, I think it's around a 3 deep URL you cannot exclude. Another thing that you need to be careful of is that one exclusion doesn't actually exclude another page that you actually want to receive. So I might not want clicks from the first URL, but I definitely want them from the second URL. If I exclude the first one, I automatically exclude all traffic from the second one. So that's something you got to really be careful of when excluding. Okay, on to the next report, the geographic and user locations reports. Now, what are these types of reports? The easiest way to tell where your ads are being displayed around the world is to either use the geographic report or the user locations report. As you already know, at the campaign level, you set the locations that you wish to target as well as how to target them. You can have Google target those locations in one of the following 3 ways. People in, searching for, or viewing pages about my targeted location, people in my targeted location, or people searching for, viewing pages about my targeted location. Google will then distribute your ads across those locations. So what can you do with these reports? In the past, Google would only target based on the user's physical location, which was determined by their IP address. Nowadays, Google is basically much smarter. They can target people on their search intent. Now with search intent, you target your locations as you normally would. Google will then show your ads to people physically located in those locations, searching for those locations, or viewing web pages about those locations. This means that sometimes your traffic may actually arrive from outside of your targeted area. Now to see this in action, you use the user locations report. If you want to see where Google are distributing your ads based on the specifically targeted locations that you've chosen, you use the geographic report. So the 2 separate reports. Even if you were targeting just the United States, for example, these reports will be extremely useful at showing you which states are sending you the bulk of your traffic. So maybe certain states consume most of your budget and tend to not produce the bulk of your sales. The geographic report will help identify those poorly performing states so that you can exclude that traffic. Now the same approach holds true with countries. If you target many countries, you may be surprised to see that some of the countries that you consider as top performers tend to receive little or no traffic. With the geographic report, you analyze the breakdown, and then you split your campaigns into multiple campaigns that target just a few countries instead of one large list of countries. You will then be able to apply a daily budget and bids accordingly. Now, what do you need to be careful of when it comes to these particular reports? If you run the user locations report and you're targeting based on search intent, so that the first option, which is the default option. So probably everybody here in this room who's running an AdWords account, if you're unaware of this, you're running everything at search intent as well as physical location. You might be surprised by what you see. Your ads, in some instances, will be shown to people that you cannot actually target even if you wanted to. For example, people in Cuba, Iran, Myanmar, Sudan, or Syria. You might also be receiving traffic from countries that you don't even wish to target, which probably those, but also a whole lot of others. Now, in order to stop AdWords from doing this, you could switch from people in searching for or viewing pages about my targeted location to just people in my targeted location. That would be the physical IP address. However, making that switch could cause your campaign to decline. And it's not because that you just excluded all that traffic that you actually don't even want to receive, but it's going to decline because Google are sometimes showing your ads to people based on search intent, even though they're located within your targeted zone. So what you need to do is, you need to use the geographic report to determine how much traffic is coming in based on search intent. If it's a substantial amount, what you can do is you can exclude countries or states instead of actually unchecking them. So what you're doing is there's an exclusion portion inside the AdWords account. Instead of just unchecking a country, I don't want to target this country, you're basically throwing them into a list of saying, I don't want to target this country. So it's a different way of actually telling Google, don't send me this traffic whatsoever. Okay, now on to conversion tracking. After someone clicks on your AdWords ad, what do? Do they download your software? Do they watch a video? Do they sign up for a newsletter? Do they purchase your product? AdWords conversion tracking attempts to answer these types of questions. AdWords conversion tracking is a small piece of JavaScript code that you place on pages that you feel are gold pages. For example, a page that someone sees right after they made a purchase. If someone clicks on your AdWords ad, finds their way to that page where that conversion tracking code was placed, the AdWords system will record that as a conversion. So what can you do with this? Currently, it's the easiest way to measure how clicks on your ads turn into sales or leads. With enough conversion data, you can identify which clicks produce and which clicks do not produce results. This will help you eliminate or expand on that specific traffic. Now, what do you need to be careful of when it comes to conversion tracking? Keep in mind that the AdWords conversion tracking is a cookie-based tracking system, and those cookies only last for 30 days. Are your potential customers the type that actually accept cookies or even keep them? How long does it take for your potential customer to purchase your software? If they click on your AdWords ad and download your 30-day trial, only to purchase on day 31, the conversion won't be tracked back to AdWords. With business software, you may have situations where the person who finds your product may not be the same person who actually makes the purchase of the product. If they are different, the conversions won't be tracked back to AdWords. Are multiple conversions used throughout the are multiple computers used throughout the purchase process? If an ad click is performed on a laptop or let's say an iPad, only to make the final purchase through a desktop computer. The conversion won't be tracked back to AdWords. In my experience, tracking actions that take place within the initial browser session are most reliable. Downloading your software, signing up for a newsletter, making an immediate purchase. Those types of actions tend to occur soon after the initial ad click and within that initial browser session. If you set up conversion tracking and you see that there are too few conversions, the data will be meaningless. In order for conversion tracking to work, you need data. I would also recommend that you do not use Google Analytics goals within AdWords as importing them into the AdWords system. That type of conversion comes in with a delay right into the AdWords system. Keep in mind that if you set up multiple conversion types, which AdWords allows you to do, the data is merged when you're reviewing all of your standard campaign stats. If you had, for example, you set up download conversions and purchase conversions, and you had 4 download conversions and 1 purchase conversion, you'll see inside your campaign stats that you had 5 conversions total. You can get that breakdown per conversion type, but it's extremely fiddly. If you're tracking both downloads and purchase conversions, I would recommend that you set up download conversions to have a conversion value of 0, and your purchase conversions to be based on the shopping cart total. You can dynamically inject the shopping cart total right into the JavaScript conversion tracking code. By doing this, you can easily identify when there was a purchase conversion amongst all of your download conversions using the total conversion value column within your AdWords account. You just enable that column. Okay, so keyword research. What is it? AdWords needs keywords, and to find those keywords, you use the AdWords keyword research tool located right within your AdWords account. You enter some initial keywords, select the locations, the language, the devices, press search. The keyword tool, if successful, will return a list of keyword ideas. Now you can either add those keywords right into the ad groups within your account, right from the tool itself, or you can export the entire list into Excel. So what can you do with this? The AdWords keyword tool is great at finding new keywords as well as negative keywords. You can use the tool to extract keywords from web pages, and to do this, you simply enter a URL and press search. The tool will return keywords that it found on pages related to those terms. Use it on your site or even your competitor's site. The keyword tool can also return keywords based on a category. You choose from a number of categories that Google provide, and the tool will return keywords that it feels are related to that specific category. Now, what do you need to be careful of? Never target all the keywords that the tool returns. I've seen many highly targeted keywords, but I've also seen very broad-reaching keywords as well. You need to go over that entire list of keywords. Now, in my experience, the AdWords keyword tool tends to produce a narrow set of keywords. You give it one keyword, and the results either relate to that initial seed keyword, or they're absolutely off target. Now, this is not bad if you use it in conjunction with other keyword research tools, which brings me on to my next point. Don't just use the AdWords keyword research tool for all of your keyword research. Word Tracker is another great source for keyword ideas. It, however, is not a free tool. Your competitor's website is another good source for keyword ideas. Review your Google Analytics as well as your Google Webmaster Tools account. Google Search is another great source for keyword ideas. I use it for the Google Suggests feature, as well as the actual paid and organic search results. And last but not least, don't forget about your search terms report. If you're using broad or phrase match, you could be seeing many new keywords that you may never have thought of, all based on the keywords that you're already bidding on. Okay, so the next item is image ads. What are they? There are two types of image-based ads within the AdWords system. The first type is image ads. This type is based on a graphic image that can also be animated. With image ads, you either need to have some form of artistic ability, or you need a graphic designer to create them. The second type are display ads. Display ads are similar to image ads by appearance only. Instead of uploading your image or animation ad to AdWords, the AdWords system will provide you an easy-to-use wizard-like interface for creating display ads. You can quickly create your own display ads in a matter of minutes. You simply pick from a variety of display ad templates that AdWords provides. You then add some ad copy, as well as some stock photos, maybe some box shots, or your logo. And the AdWords system will convert all of that information into a display ad in a few different sizes. Now you can convert an existing display ad within a few clicks. Just by you could convert an existing text ad into a display ad within a few clicks. You just select the text ad that you want to convert, and then there's a generate a display ad, and it'll present to you a whole load of different options that you can pick from. These types of ads can only be used on the Google Display Network. So what can you do with it? If you're running an AdWords account and it only has text ads, you could be missing out on a lot of potential traffic. Some of the sites on the Google Display Network or positions on specific pages only accept image or display ads. If you're not using them, you simply miss out on all that traffic. Image or display ads also have the ability to stand out on a website. You can have eye-catching images or fake buttons or even cool-looking animations that sometimes a text ad, you just don't get that with a text ad. Now, what do you need to be careful of when it comes to these types of ads? Don't mix image or display ads in the same campaign as with text ads. Now, I would even go as far as saying don't mix image ads with display ads. Keep those in separate ad groups or campaigns. In my experience, Google seemed to prefer display ads over image ads. In both are in some cases preferred over text ads. People interact with image or display ads very differently than they do with text ads. These types of ads take up an entire block, where text ads might be seen next to one another, side by side, or one on top of another. This is why you tend to see an average position of 1 when it comes to image or display ads. Now, when analyzing the performance of these types of ads, you need to compare by ad size and not by CTR, not just by CTR or conversion data. These types of ads, they'll not only perform differently, but they'll also be located in different parts of a web page. Don't ignore image or display ads simply because you don't have a graphic artist or you feel you need one. As I've already mentioned, you can set up display ads in seconds by converting text ads.
What's the difference between image and display ads?
What is the difference?
Between image and display ads?
Well, they're basically, they're almost identical. It's just that an image ad you create on your own, and a display ad is something that the AdWords system generates for you. So there's a whole display ad creation tool, and you put in various pieces of info. You pick from a template. You then put in some text, and there's various points that you could put in text. And like I could modify what it says, learn more. I don't have to have that word there. I could even move it around. I could make ease your workload, increase your sales. I can expand that. I can contract it. All within the address. That logo there is our logo. I just plop it right into the system, and it generates that. And it'll generate that in all the various ad format sizes that the AdWords system accepts. Now, I could have done those ads myself. I could have hired a graphic designer, or if I have artistic ability, which I don't, I could have created those. But the AdWords system makes it super easy to make those. I actually, with these ads, I took text ads, I selected the text ad, and I just converted it into a display ad. It's that simple. Okay. Okay, so this next section is about remarketing, which I'm guessing a lot of people have heard about. What is it? Instead of targeting people who searched for a keyword or visited a web page that was related to your keywords, remarketing allows you to target people who have already visited your website. After a visitor leaves your website, they will most likely visit other sites that are part of the Google Display Network. With remarketing, you can show your ads to those specific users who have a connection with your website. Remarketing functions in a similar way to conversion tracking. You place a piece of code on the pages of your website that it phones homes to AdWords. If someone visits a page that has that code, they are placed in a remarketing list. If your bid and budget are high enough, your ads could potentially be displayed to those people in that remarketing list as they visit websites that are part of the Google Display Network. So what can you do with it? Target people based on web pages that they've already visited on your website. If your website visitors arrive, look around, and leave without making a purchase, you can remind them all about what you offer as they hit websites that are part of the Google Display Network. If you offer multiple products, and you notice that some of your visitors see one product but not the other, you can target those specific visitors, enticing them to come back and see the other product. You can target visitors who traversed your website but never made a purchase. That's a great opportunity to offer them a deal to come back to your site. You can target people who already made a purchase from you, get them back for another great deal. Target people who didn't make it all the way through your shopping cart. Remarketing is a great way for branding or reminding people who you are and what your product or service is about. Now, what do you need to be careful of when it comes to remarketing? With remarketing, your ads are displayed across the Google Display Network, regardless of keyword relevance. Forget about excluding domains because you think they're irrelevant. If you recall, earlier in the talk, I spoke about the automatic placements report. Don't even think on using that report on a remarketing campaign. It's totally irrelevant. Your ads are shown on pages that have absolutely nothing to do with your product or your keywords. It's all about the person who is viewing that ad and the fact that they once saw your website. Now, some people view remarketing as a form of online stalking. Your ads have the potential of being displayed on each and every page that someone visits. Now, that could be an amazing marketing opportunity or could be a very creepy experience. You are, however, in control through frequency capping and who you consider to remarket to. I would also recommend that you keep remarketing isolated within its own campaign. Don't mix remarketing into a campaign that also targets keywords. Each functions very differently. Remarketing only works on the Google Display Network. Sadly, it does not work on the search network. Don't place the remarketing code on the same page as your conversion tracking code. They're identical codes. And having two conversion tracking codes on the same page will cause a conflict. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So you want to keep them separate. Okay, negative keywords. What are they? Negative keywords are used to exclude clicks that you don't wish to pay for. If you're selling, for example, business accounting software and it's not free, you might use the negative keyword freeware or free so that you won't receive clicks for such searches as, let's say, freeware business accounting software. So what can you do with it? Negative keywords are great. And if you're not using them, you need to start using them. They're great at reducing AdWords waste and improving your CTR as well as your quality score. You can use negative keywords to shift clicks from one ad group to another. If you're selling photo editing software by way of two ad groups, and the general keywords such as edit photos, edit my photos, or photo editing are in that general ad group, and then the other ad group has everything related to software. It's very software specific. I can use the negative ad group level term software so that all of the searches will shift over to the other ad group. Maybe you're seeing through your search terms report, the first item that I discussed. Maybe you're seeing that Google are showing your ads based on one-word keywords. Now, that sounds very odd, but I have seen many times where Google, you'll bid on the term software to edit my photos, and Google will display your ads based on the term software, just on its own. They drop the two, they drop the edit, they drop the photos. You're just now showing your ads when anybody types in software. So what you can do with negative keywords is you can exclude that type of traffic by putting in the exact match negative keyword software or download. The keywords that you're bidding on, they'll contain those words, just not on their own. So you'll want to make sure that you're excluding that traffic because you definitely don't want searches for just software. Now, what do you need to be careful of when it comes to negative keywords? Once you've excluded a keyword, there is currently no report in the AdWords system that will inform you of what you're missing on, all of that traffic that you're missing as a result of that exclusion. You need to be extremely careful when excluding because you could exclude a lot of potential traffic just by a mere word. Personally, if I exclude, I won't do anything else to the campaign or ad group because this will allow me to see if that exclusion that I just made had a positive or negative effect on the entire ad group or campaign. I will periodically re-review lists of negative keywords, sometimes deleting the entire list in order to take a fresh new look at how things are performing. I can always add them back if I need to. Keep in mind that you can't exclude everything by getting your account to the tightest targeting possible. In my experience, the more exclusions that you try to jam in, the performance of the account will seem to decline. The Google Display Network has a limit of 50 negative keywords. It's something that they don't really discuss at Google, but on the Google Display Network, your ad groups can only have 50 keywords in them. Anything beyond that, it's random. And that applies to negative keywords. Also, negative keywords on the Google Display Network act more like suggestions. So if you add in the negative term free, your ads might show on a page that uses the term free somewhere in that page, which most pages on the web, like on download sites, will say free somewhere. So your ads are going to be on those pages. It's more of a suggestion to Google that they might not always put it on those pages. The search terms report is a great source for finding negative keywords. You just don't have the time to go over every single one of those several thousand keywords that it can sometimes spit out. Is everybody familiar with the search terms report? So sometimes when you generate that report, it just has a massive, a huge list of keywords that you're receiving on all of your traffic. So even if you were to focus on the terms, you would export it into Excel, you would sort all of the data based on all of the terms that are sending you the bulk of your traffic. Even if you were to look at all of those, you'd miss out on all of the terms at the bottom of the list. And there's thousands of those. And some of them are completely off target. You soon realize that the irrelevant terms are being masked by their insignificance. You know that there's most likely a few keywords that, if excluded, would get rid of all of that irrelevant traffic. So what I have found to be useful is to split the search terms report into a word frequency list. Then I sort that list into single words in a descending order, like that. Then what I can do is I can easily identify specific words that I feel are off target. I can then quickly find those words in the original search terms report within Excel. It's a much easier way to go over a very large list of keywords when finding negative keywords. You see all of those, I'm noticing that free is being shown 340 times through all of those thousands and thousands of keywords that Google are giving me. The change history. What is it? As you make changes throughout your AdWords account, those changes are logged within your change history. If you increase or decrease your budget, make changes to bids, add or delete, pause or activate keywords or ads, change how your ads are delivered, who can see those ads, those and more actions are logged right within the change history. So what can you do with this? The change history report is vital for any AdWords account manager. As you make changes to your AdWords account, those changes have an impact on the performance. With the change history, you can easily see when you made those changes, where you made those changes, who made those changes, and most importantly, the impact of those changes. Now, what do you need to be careful of with the change history? Sadly, not all changes are recorded in the change history. Most of the items that are not recorded in the change history are new items, such as site links, negative keyword lists, and some other items. Negative keyword lists are different than negative keywords. They're a campaign level negative an account level negative keyword tool. There are some instances where I have found that if you make changes in the AdWords editor, those changes won't make it into the change history. Now, the change history can also leave very cryptic messages. If you've ever seen this type of change over there at the bottom, it just simply means that I've excluded tablets with full browsers. Figuring out when you added negative keywords can also be a challenge because the change history records keyword and negative keyword changes simply as keywords. When you add or edit, or delete, or pause or activate an ad, you don't have any idea which ad was changed. There's no visual representation other than a basic message such as text ad inserted or text ad changed. Personally, I keep my own log of changes that I make in addition to the change history. Site links. What are they? Site links show additional links to your AdWords ads other than the primary destination URL, other than the primary display URL. Here's an example of an ad with site links, just without that red border there. So what can you do with it? Site links are great at making your ads stand out in the crowd of ads. Simply put, they look different. I've personally seen the improvement of the performance of campaigns with site links and the decline to the performance when site links have been removed. There are also certain situations where your existing site links become supersized site links. Google called them enhanced site links. Well, they will take your ad and show 4 more of your ads right below the primary ad. Here's an example of an ad with enhanced site links. Okay, that is a huge amount of space all dedicated to you. So what do you need to be careful of when it comes to site links? Site links are implemented at the campaign level. This means if your campaign targets multiple products, your site links will need to account for that range of targeting. So for example, if you were to offer MP3 software and photo editing software all within one campaign, your site links cannot be specific to one of those products. You could have a situation where your MP3 software ads have site links that relate to your photo editing software. There is currently no way to tell within the AdWords system which site link was clicked on. So I can't tell if somebody clicked on that backup software ad, I won't be able to tell that. Now to get around that issue, I always specifically tag my site links with unique tracking URLs so that I can analyze the performance within Google Analytics. From within AdWords, there's currently 2 ways to analyze the performance of site links. They're both lacking in clarity. The first is from the Ad Extensions tab. There you will be able to see the normal stats such as clicks, impressions, and conversions. What you will quickly notice is that all the site link stats are grouped. So you don't know which site link performed best. The stats that are displayed on the Ad Extension tab won't even show you if someone actually clicked on the site link or the ad's headline, the top ad. So you don't know whether or not somebody clicked on the site link so you don't know whether or not which one performed better, or even having site links even helped. To see that data, you need to segment your stats according to click type. And you can do that within various points within your account. There's a way to segment all of your stats, and you just click on click type, and it'll show you how many clicks came to the headline and how many clicks came to the site links. Now, in my experience, ads that are shown in top positions, and when you have site links configured, you will actually see ads that show site links. So if you don't set up any site links, your ads will never show them. So it's very important that you at least configure them or attempt to configure them so that if your ads are in those top positions, Google will show them. Because if they're in very low positions, Google won't show site links. They only show them for top position ads.
Question. So is there any way to include or exclude specific page for site links?
Include or exclude?
Yeah, exclude. Say you want to exclude like a free download. Can you do that?
Exclude it?
Yeah, because you don't want to show free download in the site links, right? Because people don't. Oh, a free version, for example.
Okay, your site links are fully configured by you.
Oh, okay.
You wouldn't put, if you don't want people to go to your freeware product, you don't put that there.
Oh.
Don't confuse site links in AdWords with site links in the Google Webmaster Tools. They're completely separate. Google, in the Google Webmaster Tools, those site links are automatically generated. Google will pick popular pages on your website, and it will decide, okay, that one I'm going to use as a site link, that one I'm going to use as a site link. And the only control you have over those in Google Webmaster Tools is to say, don't do that for that particular page, and it only lasts for a couple months or so. But with site links in AdWords, you specifically configure them, and you don't need to worry about, I don't have any other pages that I want to send them to. Send them to the same page as your main ad is. Just modify the URL slightly, use different query strings. The idea of site links is that you're showing more keywords that speak to people that are looking for what you're offering in your ad. So if you're offering that photo editing software, you could be throwing in there other things like photo sharing or photo manipulation, all within that one ad, other than the limited amount of space that you get in that text ad. So the site links just give you a lot more opportunity.
So another question is, so you have to configure to enable site links, right?
Yeah.
And would you recommend using site links?
Always?
Yeah.
There's some instances where you're not going to want to use them, but you're going to need to determine that on your own. You're going to have to try them and see how they perform. As I said, your site links won't necessarily show if your ads are always in position 4. However, if you're seeing that average position of 4, there is definitely going to be some times where your ads are in position 1. So what you could have a situation of is every time those few ads are being shown in position 1, if you have site links enabled, those ads will attract more people to click on them, which will then in turn improve your CTR, which will then in turn improve all of your ads positions, which will in turn raise your average position. And you'll start seeing a lower cost per click. So it's a whole knock-on effect. Okay, moving on to the next item, devices. Those are actually all of my devices that I have. I have a collection. Okay, within each campaign there's a setting called devices. It allows you to specify the type of device that you wish to target. Currently, there are 3 options. This is sort of a large screenshot of all of those various options, but at the very top, there are 3 main options. Desktop and laptop computers, mobile devices with full browsers, tablets with full browsers. What can you do with it? If your target market uses only one of those types of devices, you can easily target just that traffic and exclude the rest. If your target market, for example, uses an iPhone or an iPad, you can specifically target just those users and not Android users. What do you need to be careful of? If you weren't aware of this setting, check your account as soon as possible. You are most likely targeting desktop and laptop computers as well as tablets with full browsers. That might be all right with you. However, if your potential customers don't typically search for your product or use it on a tablet, I would recommend that you exclude that traffic. If you're offering software that only runs on a desktop computer, you could have people looking for what you offer on their iPad, and once they arrive on the download page, they won't be able to do much, even though you just paid for that ad click. You could create a smarter download button that detects that type of user. If they're using an iPad or an iPhone and try to download your Windows-based software, you could offer to email them the download URL directly to their desktop. This way you don't necessarily lose out on that download conversion. If you're targeting all of these different types of devices, you may have a situation where your potential customers search for what you're offering on their iPhones or iPads, only to make the actual purchase on their desktop computers. You won't be able to track those types of conversions because there's a device disconnection. The cookie from your iPhone won't be read on your desktop computer when you made that final purchase. Sadly, you cannot specify in the desktop and laptop computers which type of computer you wish to target. Personally, I would love to be able to specifically target Windows systems and not Mac systems, or vice versa, just Mac systems. So in this talk, I covered a number of advanced topics ranging from the following: the search terms report, automatic placements report, geographic and user locations reports, conversion tracking, keyword research, image and display ads, remarketing, negative keywords, the change history, site links, and device targeting. My hope is that you walk away from this talk with new ideas and a better understanding of the AdWords system. Each of these areas that I discussed should help you reduce your AdWords waste and maximize your AdWords ROI. Thank you very much for listening to my talk, and please let me know if you have absolutely any questions about AdWords.
Aaron, you were way better than Dave, okay?
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
Covered it all.
Yeah.
Sure. I don't know the term for it, there's something called the percentage of impressions, or what percentage of impressions you get. How is that calculated? What does it mean?
Okay, the impression share.
Yeah, the impression share.
Okay. So Google will look at the terms that you're currently bidding on and basically say, and this only works on the Google Display Network.
Right.
And impression share, you use that data in order to get an idea of what's out there, what's available to you. Their analogy is like it's a pie. And if you're only getting 10%, that's 10% of the pie that you're getting. That means that signals you to say that if you increase your bids or you increase your budget, you could reach more people. So there's more traffic available. If you're hitting 90-some%, there isn't much available within the current tracking that you already have. So all of your keywords that you're already targeting, that's it.
I guess that wasn't my question. I understood the implication. I was wondering how they, well, for example, there may be something where there's not a lot of competition, and yet I get impression share of like 15%. In other words, they may only be showing 2 ads, and one of them's mine.
What you need to do is you'll need to enable, there's more columns there that give you more data.
Okay.
There's an impression share loss due to budget, and there's an impression share loss due to rank.
Thank you.
So those two things will signify, are you losing out based on the limited budget that you're giving the system, or you're losing out based on your rank? If you're losing out based on your rank, it deals with quality score and your bids. If you're losing out due to budget, you don't have a large enough budget to supplement that. Any other questions? Yeah.
In your work over the last few years, have you noticed that people have had to bid more over the last few years to get clicks?
In the early days, things were way cheaper. Yes.
Yeah.
But it really depends on what you're doing. And it fluctuates. You could get in and it might seem high at one point, but then all of a sudden you'll see it drops. And that's simply because there's people all going in and out of the system constantly. So your competitors might be in there right now and they're bidding heavily on things, and then all of a sudden they leave. And then you're there. Or you're improving what you're offering. You're getting to know the system better, and you're giving people more of what they want. And then the AdWords system will reward you by lowering the amount that you are required to pay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much.